All right, I don't have the statistics around this, but my instincts tell me that AI agents are probably one of the most, if not the most talked about topic in the trailing, let's say 2-3 months around anything and everything AI for business. And one of the things I think, Steve, you can help the audience better understand, and I think we're all looking for it, is what is an AI agent and where does it come from, right? And what are maybe the component parts and what makes one agent, and I won't name names, but what makes one agent from one company a little bit better for real than one from another? And or how do you mix and match the component parts that can allow you to cook up your own agent versus one off the shelf, like going to a fast food restaurant? So anyway, I'll leave it to you, Steve, to kind of open it up. But I wonder if you could help us better understand how you think about and take apart what is an AI agent, and how do folks that are maybe not as technical better understand it so they can start to feel a little more confident on this topic that everybody seems to be talking about.
Yeah. It's funny. I sent you both a meme recently that was, Mommy, how did Daddy get so rich? And it said, oh, your father renamed workflows to AI agents. And I find that very relevant right now because, if you break it down, you're talking about getting, your work done with automated tool sets, right? So, at its simplest form, an AI agent is using generative AI, right? And that could be in the form of LLMs out there like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, right? To basically execute on workflows in the systems that exist, right? Grabbing data from the systems that exist. Of course, there's the campaigns out there from like Salesforce where you've got Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey and
Big fan of both those guys, just for what it's worth.
Agent Force. I think it's a brilliant form of marketing because it's sort of creating this picture of what an AI agent is to everybody. But at the end of the day, that's what it is. I think when you break it down kind of technically, there is an aspect of how do you set up systems, being able to gather data from various different systems, extract data from various systems, run work off of it, and then using generative AI, using LLMs to basically create different aspects and workflows and answers, right? Whether or not that's a RAG approach, retrieval augmented generation, or agentic RAG, or various different forms of RAG, right? Basically, this is combining data from various systems, pulling it back into a centralized place, being able to use an LLM to gather information, going to another source and pulling information from, let's say, your trusted sources, internal sources, and then being able to answer. I think that as agents get smarter and smarter, and the models, the AI models, right, the new models like from Grok that have come out, that it's just those agents are going to be able to kind of learn on their own. They're already starting to learn on their own. So being able to basically set up rule sets to say, if this type of answer comes back, then do this. This has always been in place with like robotics process automation and things like that. It's just the next step of that. And it's adding in the layer of generative AI as a tool set to be used to basically run workflows. The power of it, though, is to be able to, in a very simple way, grab data from various different systems, be able to run workflows against that data within the systems that exist within your enterprise environment, right, within your IT environment, and then be able to kind of do workflows that would in the past be done by humans, and a continuous, always-on basis, right, which is ideal.
I think you nailed it, Steve, and I love that you unpack it there. And Tati, I want to come to you with the next question, right, which I think we're all starting to come to grips with, which is, it has been said that, in the past, right, pre ChatGPT's launch and all this explosive growth, within the LLM enabled world, that we all used to imagine a scenario where we're all going to have to eventually learn how to manage people, right, and lead people. And I think we're all coming to grips real quick, whether you're an individual contributor or responsible for a massive, 5, 10,000 person organization. We are all going to have to learn very quickly how to manage digital labor and AI agents because of what Steve just unpacked. And how do you, Tati, think about the AI agent conversation in general and in relation to understanding how to harness it, manage it, lead it, deploy it, all those good things within business? Oh, you're on mute. All good. You're back.
100%. And there was some construction out here, so I put up myself on mute. So real life here. So much to unpack when you're talking about AI agents, but I think one thing I want to say is that the biggest misunderstanding, when I was hearing Steve talk, one of the biggest misunderstandings I hear from when talking to leaders and operators is that you need an AI strategy, a mature plan to use the agents. And all you really need is a messy workflow and some willingness to test, because that's what it is. That's what's going to do for you. So it's not it it's essentially you don't scale leadership. You don't. Another thing that I hear about, and it goes back to your question on managing people and managing systems together. Another misconstruction, I think, is that you're cloning yourself, or you're cloning your systems, or you're automating the things you have. You're not going to scale by doing that. You're going to scale by embedding judgment into your systems. That what the agents let you do, they allow for you to. They don't follow instructions, right? So let me just take one moment to say something that I've been repeating to friends and colleagues out there. The old tech did exactly what you told it to do, right? So you programmed it step by step. It was like following a recipe. Something changed, it got stuck and messed up. We all dealt with it, we still deal with it. There's a lot of that around still. The AI agent doesn't just follow the instructions, it figures out what to do next. And we've had those conversations actually offline. We need to do one of these online about what we call when the magic happens, when the agent really goes above and beyond anything that you had built it for, because it figured it out. So you still need to give this the tools, the goals, etc., but it can adjust along the way. So in a very same way that a human does, or I shouldn't say in the same way, in a parallel way in which a human does, an employee. So that integration of how you're going to use the alien intelligence and how it's going to best merge co-pilot with your humans and give them back their time and give them back and co-contribute on those flows, it will co-create with your team. And how do you embed that? And that's, again, something that you're going to need help figuring out, but it's something that's unavoidable. You will have to do that if you try to keep them separate. If you try to run agents as you're running old tech, number one, you're not making the most out of it. You're wasting time. You're wasting this. Goes back to our other conversation. You're just, one of the biggest fears of an executive is to just going after the wrong thing and wasting resources and time. It's the difference between like a vending machine and a smart assistant. Right? That you like a vending machine, you put like B39 and here comes down whatever item you chose. A smart assistant is going to see that, they went there, they didn't have, but they know the other three things you like. And by the way, they don't have those things, but based on that, they think that they can figure that out for you. So it's a simple example, but I think that, I think there's a lot of misconception around that out there, but there's also the misconception that we're going to have a choice between integrating these systems with teams and managing them alongside your humans, and that's not going to be a choice.
That's a great example, because not only is it like a real life example, but there are vending machines now that are AI enabled, that are like out there in the world, which is awesome. And
I hope they can anticipate my preferences, so I don't have to stand there like just trying to overwhelm all the choices. You know what I mean? Like, just figure it out. Come on, AI, you know what I like.
yeah,
You know?
exactly. But the other point that you made, Tati, which I think is spot on, is it's just it only takes a messy workflow. Like that's where you start. Like where are your messy workflows, right? And then I think we've talked a lot about being an AI first company. There's a lot of companies out there that are claiming to be moving in that direction. I think that one of the fundamental questions that those companies ask themselves now is this is something that can be done with an AI agent versus, hiring a new person, right? To say the quiet part out loud, like that is where we're going. It's like you have to make these decisions as a company, as a business. Like, can we do certain things that we normally have done with people in the past with AI agents, with AI in general? And that is, going to be the true definition of AI first, if you think that way. And so, Alec, to your earlier question around like managing AI agents, yes, absolutely. Everybody's going to have to know within their own domains, like what's out there, what exists in the market, what can be done with an AI agent versus what can be done with a labor force, right, with domain expertise, and make a decision based on that. And that's just the reality that we live in.
Yeah, let me jump in and build on that, Steve. You're spot on. I love what you said too, Tati. And Steve, I'm glad you ran with that bit, because if you didn't, I was going to do the same thing. So there's two ways to look at it. So the first way, Steve's absolutely spot on, right? Which is if AI agents can take a messy workflow, clean it up, and execute, and so on and so forth, that's the path forward, as opposed to hiring a human and or humans to do something, because obviously these folks are 24/7 AI agents, they photographic memory, alien intelligence, yada yada. But the other side of that, this is why I'm always the hands in the dirt guy, is that every single person in every single company, regardless of if they're an individual contributor or if they manage a small team or a big team and so on and so forth, you are equally empowered to use these tools and allocate and distribute digital labor to enable your team to take whatever it is that's the 20% that drives the 80% of results it always holds, and increase and grow that 20% allocation of your focus to 25 to 30 by outsourcing to the agents and the digital labor that other work that's important, but it's not critical. And so I think that sometimes, and again, here comes the AI with Alec guy, interested in abundance and so on and so forth. It's always important to remember that there are multiple dimensions to how we can all benefit from this. And any dimension of, oh my gosh, AI is so terrifying because it's going to take all of our jobs. It's like, no, it's going to figure out how to dig ditches more effectively so that we can architect better buildings, right? For example. But I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but that's as you all know, that's a real, that's a topic that I love to talk about.
The reality when we're talking about labor is that I haven't met a labor model that I wasn't able to improve.
Nice.
So on top of it, you have labor models, and you have this very thing that you're talking about. So you could look at it as a problem compounded, which it could be, but it's also a tremendous solution for figuring out what this could look like. Also better for the human in the loop, for the humans in the loop. Because the reality is that what's out there today is highly inefficient in 99% of the cases. Well, it's inefficient at some level in 99% of the cases. It's been put together. You guys heard me say this before, as the Frankenstein model. I love to say that, because it really is like it's been sewn together over the years, and it's been put together by different leaders, by different people, by different needs. And what these do is they don't, and that's again the part that I can't emphasize enough, how, to your point, how many layers of benefit that can come with this, just by if alone this goes from messy to not messy workflow. That is already an enormous win for any operation out there, and that can be done immediately with these agents. And that's one of the things that I've been, and every time, and I have to call it to Steve, every time I tell him something, I'm like, hey, can we use it for this? Can we do it? The answer is yes.
Eh,
People out there, I have not gotten a no yet on like wanting to do something, and Steve goes, meh, no, can't do that, won't work. Yeah, no problem, easy, we can do it. Agents can do it. The tech's there. It's
Yeah.
just understanding how to harness it, and really from an operator standpoint is so far beyond anything you've done and anything you've understood and anything you've perfected over the years. That's why I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I mean, I think people that are in the management executive suite, they just have to realize what can be done with these agents with AI, right? And then point it at the messy workflows.
Yeah. I'm going to give my man Dan Schipper a big shout out. And I mentioned to you all this Lenny Rachitsky podcast that he was on, I think it was about 5 days ago, where he broke down some of this stuff, and it was super compelling. But you know, I think the idea of just simply identifying a complex, messy workflow and starting there, as opposed to all that top-down, you know, overarching, over-engineered, you know, 5-year AI strategy, all that. It's like, hey, if you want to do that, or whomever wants to do that, go for it. But there's an opportunity, to Tati's point, to give our man Steve a call and say, hey, here's a messy workflow. What would you do with this? And you'd say, hey, there are 2 or 3 different ways to unpack and tackle this. And within X number of hours, you could be in a position where you're on the front foot starting to move down the track. And that's all real, right? I mean, that's the reality of where we're at.
100%.
And that's what the partnership and the domain, like, that's is, you know, I know what that workflow is supposed to be doing as the operator, right? I know what it's supposed to solve. I know what that final product needs to be. I know how it's supposed to. What I don't know is how best can it be done. I don't know what the tech can do. I can be told that, you know, instead of, you know, I just ordered a microwave, but I'm getting a personal chef instead, because it's possible. Within my budget even. So like that's the kind of stuff that is exciting for me in those kinds of partnerships, because you need both sides to be a part of that, because otherwise, because Steve is not going to necessarily know from, and you know, he has a lot of expertise in the topic, but your issue, your problem in that operation, and what will need to happen in order for 10 steps down the line you get the results you're looking for, still needs to be a collaboration there. In addition to that, that's where you're gonna get, you know, you're gonna come in and you say, I have a problem, I need food, I like a microwave. That's where, and here's what, and Steve may turn around and tell you, well, for that, I'm gonna get your personal chef.
He might say, you don't need a microwave, you need a blender. You want to make smoothies, much better, right? That's what I would say. Get a blender, you know, microwave.
So, you know, we solve your problem in a different way if that's your problem. So there's various, you know, phases to this, but yes, I'm all for the personal chef.
Love it. Well, thank you both. Obviously, I think there's so much more we could talk about on agents, but I think this is a good modular piece, and thanks for both of your expertise as always, and we'll talk soon, Tati and Steve.